All right, everyone. Welcome to Last Take, episode 5. We got a big week in sports. Pretty much every sport is going to be touched on. We got NBA trades or trade rumors. We got some big news in golf. Obviously, a big week in the NFL and some MLB to talk about. But before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I will reiterate again, you do not have to have a specific YouTube account. All of you have, I will say, okay, almost maybe everyone has a Gmail account. Just sign into that. Go to YouTube. Go to Last Take or Below the Belt Sports, and subscribe. Please, it would be awesome.
Dude, don't just assume everyone has a Gmail. It's 2020. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, you're right. I hate to. I would like to apologize to all Yahoo and AOL if that's still a thing. If you have that, my greatest condolences.
I apologize to Yahoo. I don't apologize to AOL, though. You did it to yourself.
Yeah, that's on you. Honestly, no, fuck AOL. I'm out on AOL.
Fuck all of you, honestly. Fuck anyone that has an email.
But regardless, subscribe. We'll keep making videos, bringing you below average sports content. Going into the NBA, some big trades started on Monday at noon. First was Chris Paul to the Suns. I actually love this. I've been very behind the scenes. I've been a closet Suns fan for since they got Devin Booker. I was kind of excited when they got DeAndre Ayton, obviously with the first overall pick. He was the clear number one that year. But I feel like Devin Booker has been like good since he was like 16. I feel like he's been on the Suns for like 15 years. And he's always been like someone who scores 23 points, 24 points, 25 points. And DeAndre Ayton had a really good year last year, 18 points, 11 rebounds. And getting them like a real veteran presence that I feel like they haven't had probably since like Steve Nash, or when Shaq was there for like half a season. I think it's something that's going to be really exciting, putting, really good talent in Chris Paul around Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. I had to get rid of Kelly Oubre, who's really good, but I'm really excited for the Suns and excited to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, look what Chris Paul did for that Thunder team, just this past year. No one expected that team to be any good, after they traded Westbrook and Paul George. But, CP3 really took a lot of those young guys under his wing and, they made a run at it in the playoffs. So to add him, like you said, to Booker and Ayton, Ayton, whose potential we haven't exactly seen yet. We don't know what he's going to be in this league. So far, I think it looks pretty good. And then Devin Booker, who is a stud, and he's one of those guys, and I say one of those guys, it's like 75% of the league that you see in trade rumors all the time, like, that he might be a little bit disgruntled about Phoenix. But no, that team was great in the bubble. You add CP3 to that, and I think that it's not a team that anyone's going to be looking at saying this team is going to come out of the West and win the title, but I think that they might take that next step to, from a team that wasn't all that good and made some noise in the bubble to, potentially a legitimate playoff team in the West.
Yeah, and I feel like the Suns were right on the verge of being one of those teams that was like, okay, if they weren't like elite in the bubble, I honestly think they might have considered selling off and trading Booker, and trying to almost rebuild around Ayton. But I'm really glad they went the other direction and are building on it and trying to win something with Booker, because I think it's exciting to see a team that hasn't been good in a long time starts to, maybe being in the championship conversation. I think Chris Paul puts them at the maybe top 4 in the West. So exciting news there. Heading over to the East, Jrue Holiday comes to the Bucks in a last-ditch effort for Milwaukee to keep Giannis after the season. They're going all in. They traded a lot. I forget who else they got. They got Bogdanovich from the Kings, I believe. I don't know how to say his first name. I don't want to butcher it. But they traded like a lot of first-round picks and a lot of good talent. They traded DiVincenzo too. They're just doing everything. They're grasping at straws to try to hold on to Giannis, and as they should. Jrue Holiday is a great addition, but they gave up Eric Bledsoe, who I think Jrue Holiday is better than, but how much better is he? I think they needed to make a bigger move, but I guess we'll have to see. Either Giannis needs to get a lot better, which is crazy because he's back-to-back MVPs, but I don't think Jrue Holiday is the piece that's going to keep him there long-term.
Yeah, I really hope for their sake that they do have some sort of intel that Giannis is staying, because if not, it's not like, all right, well, it's fine. We trade those 3 first-round picks. At least we have Jrue Holiday to build around. Like, he's clearly a complementary player. Like, yes, it makes the team better, but like you said, how much better? I'm not that much more excited about the Bucks than I was yesterday. It screams to me like a guy who thinks his girlfriend's going to break up with him, so he's buying her some expensive presents. Like, it's not really going to do anything, but it's going to give off the illusion that at least you're trying. So maybe he'll appreciate that. I don't know. I don't. It just seems to me like I have no sources, obviously, but it just seems to me like Giannis is just going to go to Miami. It just seems like that makes too much sense, or just leave and go somewhere else. Not the Knicks, even though I saw that report yesterday. Fuck anyone who's tweeting those out and playing with my emotions. But no, I don't know. I hope he stays, because then they've really just screwed themselves over giving up 3 firsts for a guy like Jrue Holiday. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's like, off that jewelry analogy, it's not like they went to Jared. It's like they went to Kohl's and like went to like the discount center and was like, oh, let me get the cheapest thing you got. Like, Jrue Holiday is great. He's a very talented player, don't get me wrong. But he is one of those underrated superstars. He's underrated, I think, for a reason. Like, the most he's ever put up is, I think, 21 points a year. Good, great. Now he's like your third option behind Giannis and Middleton. But like, I mean, in the East, like, and this is a good transition. It's very possible you're going up against Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Like, that doesn't even come close. Your big three versus their big three. Like, it's not comparable. But with that transition, the biggest rumors in the NBA so far is the James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Rockets, Nets fiasco. And I don't even want to say the Knicks, because I mean, are they getting Westbrook? What do you think?
No, I don't even want to talk about this too long, because Ethan and I actually put out a video. Well, I had our guest Ethan on, dropped the video yesterday, Knicks offseason preview. We talked at length why we don't want Russell Westbrook on the Knicks. So hopefully not. I'm deciding to put my faith in. I'll say this real quick about Westbrook. Any Knicks fan who wants Westbrook is selling out and saying, you know what, I know we're not going to ever win a championship. I just want to be entertained again. And you can have that opinion. That's fine. Me personally, I'm not going to mortgage our future and bring in a guy like Westbrook, who I know would maybe bring us to the playoffs at best, maybe, and no one else is going to come, sign here and play with and be like, oh, I want to play with Russell Westbrook. I'm not that desperate for the Knicks to be good again immediately. I'll give it another couple years. I'm not going to say just because Phil Jackson and Steve Mills and, were terrible that Leon Rose isn't going to be good. But no, so I don't think that's going to happen. But as you were alluding to, Harden to the Nets, from everything I'm seeing, it seems like he really is trying to force his way there. And if we've known anything about the NBA the past 10 years, it's that when a superstar wants to go somewhere, no matter what their contract situation is, they're going to get there. So people saying that it won't work, I think, are just trying to stir up noise. We've heard that about every super team. We heard that about KD going to the Warriors. We heard that about, the big three in Miami. Will there be a period of adjustment? Of course. I mean, these guys are, you bring in 3 of the top 15 players in the game to, on the same team. Like, yeah, of course, maybe they'll start off a little bit slow, but you can't tell me that they're not going to work it out, especially in the East. Like, who's beating them? Like the Celtics, the Bucks? No, that team, if those 3 guys stay healthy, they're winning the conference easily and probably the whole thing. So I don't know. What's your take on it? Because I think if it does happen, and I really think it will, I think that team's going to win an NBA title.
So I was actually listening to the Michael Kay show earlier on ESPN radio, and apparently the Celtics are in on this Harden thing. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I think it's Danny Ainge, who's the GM of the Celtics, trying to somehow like bluff and try to get the Nets to give up a lot more by thinking, oh my God, the Celtics are they going to give up? Like, what are they going to give up? Are they going to give up Kemba and maybe Brown too? Like, are they going all in with Tatum? I think it's them just trying to get the Nets to mortgage their future and pretty much everything and give up more than they already are considering giving up. So I don't think the Celtics are too into it, but that's just an interesting thing to follow over the next couple of days. In terms of the Nets actually getting them, I also heard that the Rockets are not doing this trade. I mean, at the end of the day, he is under contract with the Rockets. Like, they don't have to trade him.
Right.
And they don't want to, and this is what they're saying now, I'm sure, as another trade tactic, that they don't want to do this deal unless KD or Kyrie comes back to Houston, which is absurd.
That's absolutely not happening.
It's not happening. It's fascinating to me that the Rockets like saying that, because look, dude, like I don't even know who their GM now is, because Daryl Morey went to the Sixers, but whatever.
Sixers.
Yeah. Whoever is running the ship over there is out of their mind because that's not happening. I do hope that it does happen because I do think that'd be a very interesting dynamic. I think Kyrie's going to have multiple fits throughout the year. That's a lock. If there's like an over/under for temper tantrums for Kyrie Irving, I set it at like 5.5 on the season. I'd hammer the over.
That's going to happen regardless. Like,
yeah, but it's a lock with Harden. But I think it will be super interesting to see how they put it all together. I'm again assuming that it does happen, but I don't know. I don't even have a full-on take on how it's going to work basketball-wise because I don't think they even know. I think that whenever these superstars get together, they're just like, oh no, we're good enough basketball players that we'll figure it out. And half the time that works, half the time it doesn't. So I mean, it didn't work when Westbrook and Harden said, oh, we'll figure it out. It sucked. Russell Westbrook was one of the worst three-point shooters in like basketball history. They told me.
Yeah, another reason I don't want Russell Westbrook is I just don't think he's a good basketball player. Like I know he's won an MVP and everything. I don't think I hate watching him play. His game is just not what's going to take a team to the next level. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
Oh no, and they're going to mortgage their future in the same way that the Nets did when they went for Paul Pierce and like Garnett and that whole thing. Like they're fighting for the AC. Like what are you doing? Just rebuild and
the only thing is I don't think it would take like multiple first-round picks, maybe not even any first-round picks to get Westbrook. But I just think that it hinders, like it just for a lot of reasons that, Ethan and I talked about it. It just doesn't make sense. But for the Nets, if they can do it, like I think you do it. Like I don't think there's anyone, aside from KD and Kyrie, hopefully you'd like to keep complimentary guys like, LeVert and Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. But you got to trade them in a couple firsts to bring in, what would be the best big three probably like, definitely, since KD and the Warriors, then yeah, you absolutely do that.
Yeah, I mean, look what the Lakers gave up for AD. I mean, they gave up a lot, but they won, So, I mean, you can't say it wasn't worth it. So, I mean, and AD's obviously coming back to the Lakers. But, it's worth it. And I think that if they can work something out, they pull the trigger on it. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next week in terms of that because I do think it's going to happen either before the draft or pretty soon after once everyone figures out their rosters. Yeah. Moving over to the NFL, a pretty normal week other than a few outstanding things. Obviously, the craziest being the Hail Mary that Kyler Murray, and that was literally a Hail Mary in every which way, throwing in through to DeAndre Hopkins in triple coverage at minimum. And DeAndre Hopkins, as your board says, catches everything. One of the craziest Hail Marys I think I've seen. It compares to the Fail Mary, I'd say, and obviously all the ones that Rodgers has thrown because he has like 50 of those. But that was a crazy game. I think one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, my takeaway, obviously the Cardinals are looking like, they've really taken that extra step this year. They're going to be a legitimate team, could maybe make some noise in the playoffs. But I immediately thought, if you're a Texans fan, how much does this suck? You look at a guy that Bill O'Brien, who's gone, mercifully gone, basically gave away, traded him for David Johnson, an aging running back. You trade the best wide receiver in football, who not only is the best wide receiver in football, he wasn't like a head case like a Michael Thomas or an Odell Beckham. He was like a genuinely just like normal dude. And then you have Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall pick, who I would say, aside from Russ, just because he's a little bit older, I think you would say if you're starting a franchise, it probably would go Mahomes, Kyler Murray. He's at least in that discussion, and which is what you thought you had with Deshaun Watson a couple years ago, which who knows, like, maybe, I think he's still going to be a really good player, and he does have his moments. It's just the Texans are such a dumpster fire right now. So you look at a receiver that you traded away and the quarterback that you thought Watson was going to be and think maybe he still could be, and they're already making noise, and you're just sitting there just, I don't know, like a Texans fan. That's got to be the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the Kyler Murray to Russell Wilson comparison feels very true. I actually thought that yesterday when I saw like all that happening. A great young quarterback, who can run the ball well, throw the ball very accurately. I mean, he does. Yeah, again, I think Russell Wilson was a better player in his second year than Kyler Murray is in his second. But I think the comparisons are there, especially to the roster too. They have a growing defense, and some elite talent on offense. So I mean, I think it's really exciting to see that. I do think that the Cardinals are the favorite in the NFC West right now. I know the Seahawks are still your pick, and I'm pessimistic. Seahawks.
No, they're not. I've changed my tune completely.
Really? Okay, I love that.
Let's move on to them, because what is the deal? It's been 2 weeks in a row now. They've messed up my can't lose parlay, and I just think that defense is just I'm so far out on it at this point. Give me your rundown where your head's at.
I'll keep it quick because I rambled last time, but I think the Seahawks are officially frauds. I put the Ravens in that category too. Seahawks are officially frauds. Russell Wilson was playing at an MVP caliber level, and that's why they were 6-0. And now he's come back down to earth, as is sort of expected. I mean, he's only one person; he can only do so much. He's playing. He's playing bad right now, like very bad. Like he's missing throws. Like he had a wide open run on one play. He could have gotten the first down and probably 10 yards after that. He threw it to the end zone because he's so obsessed with having to make plays and being used to having to do too much that he threw a terrible interception in the end zone. So I think that they're low-key. I don't know. This Thursday night game against the Cardinals actually that's coming up is a big, big test. But I think they're falling apart right now. I think that they're concerned about their defense internally. And they're just banking on Russ always doing something crazy, and it's not always possible. So this Thursday night game is the limit to see if they fall apart or not, and I think they're going to. So it's a very odd time because you still think that they're one of the better teams, or they should be, but the defense is just it's holding them back too much.
Mm-hmm. I have one positive about the defense. It's a new segment. It's a one-time segment. It's called "Say Something Nice About Jamal Adams." I've spoken about him a couple times on this show. We've talked about his, fit football-wise and everything, but I actually saw something today that for the first time in my life I said, wow, I respect that about Jamal Adams. So he went on Patrick Peterson's podcast and talked about how he's battled with depression or felt underappreciated by the Jets, would, after losses not want to talk to, people, even his family. And I respect that for two reasons. One, athletes caring just as much as fans do, because sometimes I feel like fans are like, we're so invested in this, and then athletes are just getting paid millions that maybe don't even care as much as us. Some are competitive, some aren't, so it is always nice to hear when athletes care. And two, just for anyone to open up about depression, I know Dak did it a couple months ago. Jamal Adams now, it definitely is huge, sends a good message, just trying to remove the stigma behind mental health. I think honestly the worst form of depression you could experience is playing for the New York Jets. So at least he's, hopefully on a better path now. But, as much as I maybe didn't like or, still don't love Jamal Adams, personally, I do respect that about him. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah. Props to him for being able to come out about that and, talk honestly about it. That's very important right now. But in terms of his football play, his passion was never something that I doubted. I know that he cares about the team that he plays for, and he wants to be good at what he does and help his teammates out, be a good person and all that. I stand by. He can't cover anyone. So, that's a problem right now when we traded so much for him. So in terms of his football play, I would love to see him sort of start to take control of that offense that defense like we really expected him to. So, I guess we'll see what happens Thursday. But good for you, for the Giants. They had a huge week. You're flaunting it right now. What's the Patriots hat say?
It's New England Patriots Super Bowl 42 champions, 19-0. Perfect. That's what happened. They won Super Bowl 42.
Yeah, I can't believe the Patriots won that, as we all remember.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. But no, I actually said last week on the show that it was probably going to be the last time all year that my team would win and yours would lose. It's 2 weeks in a row now. So it's making for a very intriguing path for Giants Seahawks in 2 to 3 weeks, because Giants have a bye. So yeah, a little less than 3 weeks here coming up. But no, I'll keep it brief. The Eagles stink. Let's get that out of the way. They are terrible. It feels so good beating them, because even when the Giants were really rolling good in the early 2010s, late 2000s with Eli, they still couldn't beat the Eagles that much. So it's always good to beat them. Doug Peterson is a loser. If you listen to the interview he gave on the Monday after he threatened to hang up on this Philly morning show host, the guy is just
Yeah, I heard that.
It's the difference between him and Joe Judge is just night and day. So it's hilarious how much everyone in Philly sucked that guy off, when he was calling the Philly special and now he can't, So it's just a joke. So that felt good to win. But second game in a row, no turnovers for Danny Dimes. It's really all you could ask for. Darius Slayton did have a big play to get them in field goal range to ice the game after dropping a pass on third down late in the fourth quarter. It looked like it was going to be another Evan Ingram situation, so thank God that didn't happen. Defense stepped up. James Bradbury is legitimately one of the best cornerbacks in football. Jabril Peppers is, for people who hate on the Odell trade, just look at what Jabril Peppers does for this defense game in and game out. Don't even think about Odell, and that's already a win. The offensive line looked pretty good. Wayne Gallman, really effective running the ball. He had 2 touchdowns. So just feel pretty good about this team. And listen, the division is there. They have to win a couple, games that they need to win. They have to beat the Cowboys. They have to beat the Bengals, and then, pick up, probably another 2 wins at least somewhere along the way. But, they're a really fun football team to watch right now. They're trending in the right direction. And, as, someone who couldn't say they like the direction of the team since, that 2016 playoff loss, it's refreshing to say that the Giants are actually making real progress.
Oh, yeah, the Giants are absolutely trending up, and the Eagles are trending down. I feel like there's always some type of injury that they have. Like, if they were, a person, they would be like that guy from SpongeBob who's like, every morning I break my legs, every afternoon I break my arms. I think that, that's literally them exactly, because I feel like there's always something going on with them. And Carson Wentz, I think, is just bad. Everyone's like, oh, he makes a few good throws a game that, really surprise you. No, he's just bad. I think he gets lucky on a few of them that he happens to put them in the right place. So Giants are trending up, Eagles are trending down, and I think the Eagles are still up by half a game, right?
The Eagles, I believe, are 3-4-1.
So I think that because of that tie, it puts them a half game ahead of the Giants.
Yeah, and the Giants have also – the Eagles had their bye also, I'm pretty sure, so they've already played. But the Giants have an easier schedule down the stretch than the Eagles do. So we'll see what happens. We're going to need some help. If the Browns could beat the Eagles, that would be huge. But, I'm not even – I don't want to say I'm not thinking playoffs because I am, but it's just good to have them finally going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's nice to feel like they matter.
Exactly.
Moving on to another big thing that happened on Sunday, Dustin Johnson winning the Masters. A historic score, 20 under par. The only 2 other scores that were close to this was, I believe, Jordan Spieth, I forget what year, and Tiger Woods in his historic rounds were both minus 18. So Dustin Johnson beat that by 2 strokes, the best score ever at the Masters. And it came in second place. I totally overlooked how historic this guy was, but Cam Smith, he had an historic round, or historic all the rounds. He was the only person to ever shoot under 70 all 4 times, and nobody cares because Dustin Johnson was so good.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know that. Nobody cares. DJ's actually been my favorite golfer for probably 10 years. Actually, you and I, we went to the Barclays. A bunch of golfers, I was just a young lad at the time trying to just a wave or a nod. Bubba Watson forever got on my shit list that day. It was you, me, your 2 little cousins, 2 other kids. Literally no one else around, wouldn't even look at us. So fuck him, he's a douche. But DJ took the time. Yeah, DJ took time to stop signing autographs for everyone. So love that. Throw in the fact that he's become, one of the best golfers in the world, setting a Masters record, and he's married to Paulina Gretzky. It's just the icing on top of the cake. So I was really happy for him. Actually had a bet on him, so won a nice chunk of change. And then we saw Twitter get uncomfortably horny as soon as Paulina came out.
Yeah, respectfully so. I saw one tweet that was just out of this world. It was like him, obviously, I think his hand was,
getting a handful of ass.
Yeah, okay, respectfully. And it was just I saw that photo everywhere. I'm like, guys, come on, this is clearly about golf.
Did you see Cowherd's tweet?
It was Cowherd. It was Cowherd that did it, and everyone was like,
Cowherd was so dude. Congrats, ... on everything, Dustin Johnson. unnecessarily horny. And then the top reply, which had me dying, was, "This could be us at Liv Coward."
Outside of sports, that is one of the funniest things ever. And obviously, she plays into it a lot. She's funny about it, but that is one of my favorite things on Twitter.
She's hilarious in her own right, but the amount of guys, like the lengths that they will take on Twitter is so funny. Like, you remember when the Chiefs, like for the Patriots game, like their equipment showed up late, and it was like they had a video of like the equipment team like funneling it in, and it was like Amazon delivering my order of Liv Coward's dirty socks. It's like who thinks these things?
And she quote tweeted it and was like dot like, what? She's like, what is this thumb to?
Imagine like you're interviewing for a job and like your employer stumbles upon that, and it's like,
dude, what is, like, I'm gonna ask you straight up, what is wrong with you?
Horny Twitter is one of the most simultaneously hilarious and concerning places.
Yeah, a lot of problems, just both ways there. But big weekend for golf. Moving on to baseball. Just quickly, we'll touch on the Hall of Fame ballot came out. The big people that are on it: Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds. Last year, Clemens had 61% of the vote. Bonds had 60.7. The closest was Schilling at 70%. Obviously, you need 75%. So those are the big guys that we're going to watch. But there are some fun, probably not going to get on, but fun names going onto the ballot this year. Omar Vizquel carries over, but new people: Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Burley, AJ Burnett, Torrey Hunter. Additional ones are okay, I'll go on to new ones still. Dan Herron, LaTroy Hawkins, Aramis Ramirez, Nick Swisher, and then people that are still carrying over: Andy Pettit, Billy Wagner, Todd Helton, Jeff Kent, Scott Rowland, my favorite, Bobby Abreu, Andrew Jones, Manny Ramirez, Gary Sheffield, and Sammy Sosa. So those are all the guys you're going to see on that. So maybe, what is that, like 20 people? Obviously, only a few of them are actually going to be elected in, if any, this year. Is that possible to have no one elected in?
Yeah, you can have nobody. I don't remember the last time it happened. You could have nobody. I wouldn't put it past. I think, given, like you said, the fact that Schilling had that much of the vote, I think Clemens and Bonds are inevitably, say the word right, Nick, are going to get in at some point. And no one that you listed that's new on the ballot really strikes me as someone that's going to get in at all, let alone first ballot. So maybe this is the year that, the Clemens, Bonds, and Schillings, and then be interesting to see guys like, Helton, Billy Wagner, or Andrew Jones. Maybe they, see a jump in their percentage this year and get in. But I think we were talking about, we'll probably end up doing one once the voting gets a little closer. We'll do a video where we, can give our own ballots, talk through guys, go through some of their career moments, because, a lot of those names were, guys we watched growing up. So I think that could definitely be something pretty entertaining and fun to do.
Going off the video that I think we want to do, the Hall of Fame is definitely the Hall of Fame for baseball. It's so historic. It warrants a much larger discussion than I think any other sport would. So obviously you want to dive into it and, really make sure that the guys who get in, not that anyone's listening to our opinion, but it's nice to talk about it and feel like it matters. So look out for that video coming in the next probably couple weeks or so.
I expect them to give us a real vote after watching the video. I think probably, like, I could do a better job than John Heyman at voting, probably.
Or that one guy who didn't vote for Jeter. Stay tuned for our very depressing yet hilarious skit about a divorced MLB announcer.
You stay classy, YouTube.
All right, folks, welcome back to our coverage of Giants-Yankees here tonight. It's looking like the weather is A-okay. The tarp is coming off the field. I'll swing it down to my good buddy Mike down there for an update. Mike, what do you got for us, pal?
Hey, John, thanks. The field looks great. Shout out to the grounds crew for doing an awesome job. The skies here are clearing up, and a bunch of eager fans are ready to get back to their seats, watch some baseball. Looks like some fans are really excited to see some baseball. John, back to you. John, you still there?
Physically, yes. Emotionally, fuck no. That was my ex-wife on the kiss cam with her new boyfriend. Guy looks like The Rock in the situation, just went to town on each other and had a man baby. Fuck, that's so hot.
We should probably avoid this topic, so while we're waiting for the grounds crew to prep the field, John, do you have some highlights from around the league, please?
Yeah, let's check on what's going on around the league. Besides, of course, the fact that the mother of my children is down on the field sucking face with GNC's second leading salesperson in the month of May.
How do you know that?
Reds, Tigers, sunny ground. The mountain CJ Crone drops an absolute bomb to left field. Kind of like how my wife dropped a bomb on me when she told me she wanted a divorce. Nats, Phillies, potential double play here, but the runner breaks it up, just like my ex-wife broke up our family. Shane Bieber was locked in tonight against the Royals, striking out a ton of people, just like I've been striking out a ton on Tinder ever since my wife fucking left me.
John, I'd like to say that I heard all of those highlights, and from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. If you need somebody to talk to, please do not talk to me.
You sound like my wife.
Ex-wife, and clearly for a reason. But back to the actual game, Aaron Boone had decided to go with Jonathan Holder, coming back from the...
That bitch. She said she hated baseball. Now all of a sudden she can't even get enough of it. Who does she think she is? Buster Olney?
John, your mic is still on, and please don't compare your wife to Buster Olney. That is a gruesome visual. John, we hear you crying. It sounds like an elderly fish drowning. No, don't cut to him. Okay, well, thankfully the players are starting to take the field again while John's wife continues to play the field. Stay tuned for some Giants baseball.